Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. In this episode, we will be speaking with the team from TechFleet. This conversation was recorded on June 9th, 2023, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also, make sure to follow and subscribe to our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. Today we are catching up with the team from TechFleet. They are a very awesome community building project, and they are always busy doing something and building really cool, amazing tools. So welcome back, Morgan. It's good to have you here. Why don't we just start off with the usual what TechFleet is all about, just for those who may not be aware of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kadena Ecosystem. It's really great to be back. TechFleet is the only place in the world right now where you can build your own tech experience and start your own tech journey from ground zero without any experience. We are a decentralized community. We're community-led, and the power of the community comes from everybody being able to contribute to everybody else's success. We are a community agency. We take on client work for user experience strategy, user experience design, graphic design, content strategy, development, and product management. And so as a community, we've completed over 40 projects in the last 3 years. Incredible amount of impact. Mostly we work with nonprofits and Web3 companies and small startups. And in the future, we're going to be a decentralized talent network where somebody can come in, ask for a piece of work, whether it be a startup or a company, and get assistance through any type of means, whether it be research or design or product or dev. And we offer that opportunity for members of TechFleet to be freelancers.
Awesome. That's quite an extensive list of things that you guys are offering over there. Like you said, you've been doing this now for a few years, so it's very interesting to see where you guys have come from. And like you said, you produced over 40 different things so far for different networks and stuff like that. Can you maybe go over some of the things that you've built specifically around Kadena and some of the things that you guys are offering that are more Kadena-centric?
Yeah, so TechFleet itself is a Kadena project. We are building our talent network on Kadena and Flux, and our product is being built right now. So people who are members of TechFleet will get voting privileges based on a soulbound NFT, digital ID, that we're building. And that provides them access to the club, the membership, and it also provides them voting rights in the decision power that we have and give to the community. So we ourselves are building on Kadena and Flux and trying to build a platform that allows people to kind of get mentorship, get apprenticeships, get freelancing, and everything in between. The agency side of things for Kadena and Web3 projects, we have ample amounts of projects being built open source. And so the first of the two, like all of them are mission driven in nature, mostly based on the mission of being able to make blockchain as beginner friendly and user friendly as possible. So we have a open source multi-chain wallet called the Cadet wallet that we're trying to build and launch. That will be essentially a fork of MetaMask and provides a set of like innovative solutions to kind of get around the pain points of Kadena, like being able to send cross-chain and being able to send from Ethereum to Kadena, things like that. So that's like one of our first open source projects that we have been for several months now. It's steadily in development. We have yet to get to beta, but we're working toward beta on that as a community. the way these things work is every 8 weeks, a new team of apprentices and leads forms, and new people get a chance to work on this stuff as a community. And being a member of TechFleet means that you get access to this like apprenticeship. You can be on a team. You're not just working on this solo. You're working on a team of 30 people. And they're researchers, they're designers, they're product managers, and they're developers. And that's the TechFleet experience. So all of these projects that we've done in the past go through different phases, 8 weeks at a time. And so right now we're building a team for the 4th phase of Cadet Wallet. And that hopefully will get us to some type of coded beta. And we'll be able to provide like a beta testing forum for the community to be able to test. We have an MVP that's defined that's kind of a subset of the things that we want to provide down the road. And we're going to get there piece by piece, essentially. So that's like the oldest form of open source Web3 Kadena projects that we're building. Another one that came out recently is KBlock, which is a block explorer training analytics tool for both for tokens and for NFT. Again, built around that experience of I'm new to blockchain. I don't really know what I'm doing. Having that experience be as beginner friendly as possible. And really from a perspective of the project teams, that takes a lot of user research. It takes a lot of product strategy to be able to get to. We're doing things like learning about what it takes to learn blockchain, the types of mistakes that people make when they learn blockchain. When you're new to Kadena, you're sending tokens for the first time. What are the mistakes that people commonly make? If you've been using Kadena for a while, it mostly is things around cross-chain, things around understanding the concept of the chain web architecture. And so these tools help people understand intuitively what this cross-chain architecture does on Kadena while they're using it, so that they can get into games, they can get into staking, they can get into DeFi, they can branch out in their own world with whatever they want to do in blockchain and have a more powerful experience through these tools. So KBlock is a newer tool. We are also trying to get that thing to development. Working with someone in the Kadena community to provide APIs to be able to connect the back end of Kadena to the front end of the website. And so that's going really well. The apprentices just finished the 2nd phase, and we're kind of building out the 3rd phase of that. And then we have some newer Web3 products that I'm really excited about. One of them is a startup that started out of TechFleet, which is medical records on the Kadena blockchain, which is super exciting. For the first time in the world, being able to build a medical record universal repository and ownership of your medical records on the Kadena blockchain, to me is super exciting because of that ownership angle and that central access to your health records on the blockchain. I think is an app that's going to really innovate. So that's been going on for a while, with a couple of apprenticeships under its wing. There are other ones that are newer that we may have only finished 1 phase. So there's a project called Collab Tracks that is a Kadena project for musicians to be able to collaborate. And it's in its early stages, so we're not sure how the NFT space is going to be involved, but it would help music collaborators own their collaboration rights and collaborate together on the blockchain, probably through NFT ownership on Kadena. And all these are going to be built on Flux, on the Flux network. They'll be hosted on Flux's infrastructure so that we can then make them as decentralized as possible. The upcoming project that I'm probably the most excited about is an AI NFT card game that is called Mutantis. And that idea came from the fact that there's a lot of really great NFT projects out there in the world, and there are also a lot of projects that started out great and then something happened. They went by the wayside. Their team disappeared, and the people in the community are stuck with seemingly useless NFTs. You know, the NFTs with great utility have always some use behind them. So I want to make a game that generates new utility out of those NFTs. So the concept of it is, it's a card game. You build a deck with these NFTs. You can power up the cards by, staking or some other type of gamified element. The NFT characters are mutants, and to create new cards, you would take two NFTs that exist on Ethereum or Solana or Kadena, and the game would take those two images, take the attributes of those images, burn them, and then randomly generate a new NFT through AI based off of the old images. And that becomes a new card in the game. And then we can do some really cool things with the new NFT attributes. We can do really cool things with Marmalade, being able to upgrade this NFT, provide other level ups in the card game, provide NFT items. So think Magic the Gathering or Pokemon card game on the blockchain, on Kadena Flux. And the best part about that is we're going to have a mix of artists, but the AI generated art, we have no idea what that art's going to be. And that's a really cool surprise element to this. If you have a really special NFT that's like a one-on-one, a 1-1 NFT, those we want to make special in the game too. If you burn those, you would get some type of special card that the team has to design. We have to kind of gamify. That's the one I'm really excited about. That's coming up soon. We actually have an apprenticeship that's open applications for it right now. So somebody could come into our community, apply to the first phase. We only have UX and product management on that one for now, so that the team can build a vision, they can build the game, they can design it, and then we bring it to development. And there's going to be more in the future. Those are just the 5 that we're doing today. All of these are real open source products. As we get closer to development, we're going to bring them to beta, but we've involved the community. I bet you some people on this call have been a part of the research. Even we involve them all the time in user tests, prototype tests, interviews. Every single research phase involves the community for feedback, for insights, for their perspectives, so that we can make stuff truly as user-friendly and beginner-friendly as possible.
Well, you guys are definitely very busy over there. It sounds like always have something working in the background, some kind of project to work on. Let's go back to one of the first ones you mentioned, and that is the KBlock Explorer. Can you maybe go into maybe a little bit more detail on some of the features and things that people are going to be able to use this Explorer on for, besides the whole basic, putting in an address or putting in a transaction ID and looking up a transaction? What other kind of features are you guys looking to integrate into this KBlock system?
Yeah, for right now, it's features that revolve around helping users understand how the blockchain works and how to use the blockchain. There are specific scenarios, maybe for a developer or for a trader, that you need to use explorers for, or an analytics tool for, to do what you need to do. It's all based on the goals that you have, right? If you're a degen trader, you're looking at the 1-minute charts. If you are a developer, you're probably looking at the function code of the transaction for the smart contract that was called. If you're someone who's looking to invest in something, you're looking at the number of holders and you're looking at the price history in aggregate over time. So all of that stuff are the things that at basic level we're going to provide in terms of the analytics and the block explorer. Where we can go from there, I think, is up to the community. This is a community-owned product, and whether we put DEX aggregators in there, we have an NFT calendar that's designed, but let's say we build a marketplace for things that are like akin to maybe like a referral type marketplace like Kadena or something like full-on marketplace and launchpad like a Soko. I think the beauty of these projects is that the community will vote on this stuff. If you want features in the future, you become a part of the apprenticeship team and you become part of the change. So that's like the really exciting part. We're starting out with what people need to function and kind of hit their goals, and where that goes from there in terms of features will be up to the apprenticeship teams and the community as voted on.
Now, when it comes to how, like, we keep going back to how the communities lead the projects and you guys vote on where things are going, are there any discussions of possibly moving a voting system to a official kind of DAO system and maybe utilizing a platform like Swarms and setting up actual DAOs to coincide with these projects?
No, the plan is definitely to use Swarms. The digital ID that you have as a TechFleet member tracks your experience and your contribution in TechFleet and gives you a quadratic voting number. And that voting weight will be used for DAO voting instead of a token. So normally in DAOs, the number of tokens you hold equates to your voting weight. And that is extremely manipulable. I can buy the vote all I want. The balance around that is something a little bit more intrinsic and impactful, which is the experience level that you have. So that digital ID, I want to be able to take and integrate with Squeegee and what he's doing, which is the amazing platform Swarms, and be able to hold those votes on chain Swarms and use. And the digital ID is the governance factor for all the projects. So if there's some big decision that one project needs to make, one community project needs to make, let's say Mutantis has a decision to make, and KBlock has one too, we would bring those into the vote through TechFleet's governance. TechFleet is the central community that governs these decisions. So in the future, when we have, like, we're working toward membership now, we're working toward that digital ID now. And that digital ID is your pass to all of that stuff. But we'll have to work with Squeegee to integrate it into Swarms.
I do like the idea, like you said, of kind of the way you're going to weight the voting by, it kind of sounds like, the more involved you are with TechFleet and with the projects and being involved in the projects is what's going to give you your weight when it comes to voting, which then incentivizes people to become more active and more interactive in the whole TechFleet programs and things like that. So I think that's actually a very ingenious way to do it. Because like you said, if you're doing it through a token way or, through a kind of like if you own X amount of NFTs or whatever, that, that can be manipulated by whales and things like that. So it seems like that would be a very unique system, and hopefully something that I'm sure Squeegee will be able to help you guys and set that up, because he's pretty much a development genius when it comes to Kadena. So I'm sure you guys will have no problem being able to work that out, and something that they'll be able to definitely build. And probably once it is built and worked into the system, I can see other platforms and other people wanting to use the same kind of system. Because, like you said, it sounds very much a lot harder to manipulate than some of the other ways that people are used to experiencing DAOs. So that's very,
Yep.
very imaginative. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the design challenge ahead for us is how we vet the experience and how we validate the experience. Like your typical proof of work blockchain has a consensus mechanism to validate transactions across nodes. Every single node participates in that validation. In our model, it's actually humans making the consensus, which has to be kind of designed around to prevent manipulation in the validation of our consensus mechanism. So that's one of the things that, is really exciting in TechFleet. It's a big challenge, but we're probably going to make that an open community apprenticeship to figure out that thing, that problem to solve as a community. We're actually actively doing it right now. We have distributed teams in the community called guilds, and every guild has their own ownership domain. There's a domain called the Growth and Development Guild, which focuses on the success of people coming through TechFleet. We've gotten over 300 people hired in full-time roles in 3 years. And the Growth and Development Guild is a group of people that are in the community. Their success factor is how we can support the people coming through TechFleet to have the biggest outcomes of success. How can we build support structures for the people who have leadership experience but want to lead on projects? Because we have that. Those are the types of things that the Growth and Development Guild is working on, and actually just picked up the work to try to figure out the problem of, and the challenge of, how do we build that consensus mechanism to make sure that when we use that digital ID, when we vet the talent that comes through, we vet their contribution experience on the blockchain, we can't just take anybody's word for it. It has to be a trustless system with a consensus mechanism. So we are collectively as a guild working on that together. And like literally anybody can be involved in that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to really think through and make sure that you set it up in a safe and secure, and like you said, decentralized, trustless kind of way. So, I'm
Yep.
sure that it'll be figured out, because you guys have an amazing team over there, and you're always bringing in more people who are like-minded and want to learn and want to build these amazing tools. And speaking of amazing tools, really caught my attention when you were talking about there is the whole medical records thing. When I first got into looking at NFTs and realized that they were more than stupid monkey pictures, and looked into the tech and everything that's involved behind them, that was one of the first things I thought of was, what if your digital records were kind of like an NFT or some kind of system like that, where it was built into an app, locked behind private keys, fully encrypted, where you go into, like, say you're on vacation or something, and something happens and you have to go to a hospital or a doctor, that you can just open up an app, scan, input your password, your biometric or whatever, open it up, have a doctor scan a QR code or something, and then grant them access to your entire medical records. How that would absolutely change the entire system, because like right now, pretty much your records are wherever your doctor is, and they don't move around with other doctors. And if they do, one doctor has to reach out to your family doctor or whatever, and they have to, like, old school fax stuff over or whatever. And it's just a really old legacy system that blockchain and NFTs could really kind of take over. So can you maybe go into a little bit more detail on the way you guys see this working and the systems that you guys are working on developing?
Yeah, I'll give you all high level, because the startup that we're working with has an NDA that we're like bound by. But high level, exactly what you described will be through blockchain mechanism so that it's central access, universally central access, and universally central protection. Multi-signature is one of the best security measures on blockchain. The security of pact is a great factor in being able to make sure that this stuff is privatized on the blockchain. That's why we're building on Kadena. The measure of consensus mechanisms ensures that we always have validated data, that no matter what gets uploaded, even if it's not stored on chain, it's verified and accessed securely. Because the last thing we want in the world is anybody being able to look at anybody else's medical records. And right now, that security measure is kept in place by the fact that you have to fax it, by the fact that every single doctor's office has their own record of your medical records. Your medical records for a doctor from 2013 to 2015 are at your doctor's office, and your doctor from 2016 to 2017 has their own records. Well, that causes a lot of pain and inefficiencies at medical hospitals. And from the security, from an access standpoint, from a convenience standpoint, from a making sure that the medical community has everything that they need to be able to properly diagnose people standpoint, that's the aim for patients. And for hospitals, this is a service that if they adopt to this service, they would be able to join a universally medical record system that needs to be HIPAA compliant, that needs to be secure and compliant with laws around medical records. And there's a huge return on investment there for them, for the hospital systems that rely on these really antiquated ways to get the information that they need to be able to properly diagnose. So that's super high level. Hopefully that gives you all some detail into like the problems that we're trying to solve with that project.
No, that's exactly the way I envisioned it when it came to medical records from day one, and something that when I first got into looking at blockchain and looking at NFTs and stuff like that, you quickly realize how much this tech can secure a lot of the systems that we rely upon for our daily lives, right from just complete website hosting facilities to things like records and all types of different information, government informational, personal information. And a lot of this stuff is very out there and very easily pretty much stolen. All it takes is for one of these centralized databases to be breached, and next thing you know, a lot of your information is being sold on the dark web for a couple $100, which is why you get all of these spam emails and things like that all the time, because that's what's happening to these centralized entities. And it's people need to start realizing that we need to start utilizing these new technologies to stop that from happening and move into that new Web3 world and start turning off some of these legacy systems. Now, the only problem I see with it is that when it comes to major things like the medical associations, the banking systems, things like that, they're all so integrated into their legacy ways that you go into a bank nowadays, and I bet you some of those banks are probably still running like Windows 7 and stuff like that. For them to upgrade their systems is a major overhaul. So, it'll take a while until we start to see these changes. But for smaller startups and community kind of projects and people that are actually looking to build these things, you're more of building a proof of concept. So that once you build this system in a small knit fashion, you can then present that to the larger entities to say, look, it is possible. Here is the way you can do it, and then help them through those growing pains and help, just like I said, secure everything and make everything more easily accessible to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Actually, in TechFleet projects, we don't just build and design the thing. We actually have product strategy teams. And part of the coaching aspects of TechFleet is the barriers to success that are going to prevent this product from succeeding in the market. That's a huge topic, especially when it comes to adoption, like banks and hospitals being able to adopt the technology that we build. If we're going to build something commercial ready, the product strategy teams that work on these projects have to, and they're trained to do this. This is their job as a product manager, as a product owner. This is your job. This is what you do. You have to get around how you can design the experience to increase adoption, to increase retention, to get rid of make it enticing enough for the hospital to have that return on investment, but also help them adopt it. So like those are part of the things that we, on the apprenticeship side of things, define. Teams define it. TechFleet doesn't define it. We give the full power to the team to self-organize and make that decision based on the formal training that they've received for product management, for UX, things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way you have to move forward for adoption is, take those one step at a time. That's pretty much all you can do. And just hope that, once you have things in place and have things set up, that then the people that are the big players in those spaces will see the value in it and want to make the move. Now, one of the other things you said you're working on too is a kind of music-based system for sharing royalties, things like that. And that was the other thing when I learned about NFTs and their use cases. The first thing I thought of was once Ticketmaster learns about NFTs, it's going to change their entire game. Could you just imagine, like, if instead of because right now the majority of tickets, like if you go to a concert or anything nowadays, the majority of the people, like I'd say probably close to 75%, if not higher, don't have physical tickets. They have a QR code ticket on a cell phone. Now imagine that being an indestructible and secure NFT, so that it can't be copied, it can't be resold, can't be scalped, all of that kind of stuff. So are these kind of the ideas that you're thinking of, but kind of more in the music world? Can you maybe go into a little bit more explanation of what you guys are envisioning?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great use case that you just described for ticket sales and being able to give the money back to the musicians. This product, Collab Tracks, just finished a discovery effort where a team of researchers and designers will go together and product strategists, and they go do research for 8 weeks, and they come back and strategize in that project around what's the problem that users face, what is the value that we could provide, and how is it going to be different from other products that exist in the world. So they just finished that. Their product, you could have a lot of different types of collaborators out in the world. You could have artist collaborators, you could have development team collaborators, you could have music collaborators. This one is music collaborators, but like picture in your head collaborators in general. Collaborators who are musicians make music together. Sometimes it's really hard to find musicians that are on your level or that have your same music style. So there's a matching problem out there in the world. There's like an efficiency of the work problem because the work is centrally on your computer at home. And there's a royalty problem. If you produce that work, there's no guarantee that you're going to get paid for it. So those are the things that we are going to focus on with Collab Tracks. You'd be able to collaborate with your musician buddies. There's probably a community around that. Whatever you want to do, music-wise, you could produce as some type of asset that you sell and get money for. You own. It's an asset. Maybe that's an album. Maybe that's a song. Maybe it's a track that is just instrumentals. But the problem at the end of the day that we're trying to solve is being able to successfully collaborate and own the work. Again, where we go from there is up to the new team that forms, we have an open application for that right now. So anybody who's listening who wants to get in on that project, there's one more day to apply to that project with a new phase that's going to have a technical architecture team that's going to figure out what does that NFT component look like.
Awesome. Definitely is something that Kadena NFTs and Marmalade could really help with, because it has a really excellent royalty structure, and definitely something that could be utilized to help alleviate a lot of these problems. Because like you said, your people aren't always sure if you're going to get paid, and you're not going to also, the more every time something sells or resells, doesn't mean that the original artists are going to see a cut of that resale profit. Whereas if you tie that to something like an NFT with a set royalty thing, that kind of alleviates that issue. Now, you mentioned that people can get involved in being part of these projects. Could we maybe just quickly kind of go over how people can apply and get involved with these projects? If they go to your website, where do they have to go? What do they have to do? If there are any requirements that you have to have before signing up for one of these projects, how can people get involved with being part of the Tech Fleet experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the first time in 3 years, we actually have a website. It's a full website. If you go to techfleet.org, it's no longer a placeholder page. I'm super excited about that. But if you go there to techfleet.org and you go to the overview, it gives you information on how to get started. And essentially, the requirements for applying is that you just fill out a form. If you want to be a lead on a team, you don't need experience, you don't need a portfolio, you don't need a resume. You do need the readiness and the commitment to own the work as a lead. And you will not be a manager so much as you'll be a servant leader. You'll be the guide for the apprentices. If you want to be an apprentice, same thing. You don't need a portfolio. You don't need a resume. You don't need prior work. You just fill out a form. There are hundreds of people that apply to these projects, so it's relatively competitive. And I always recommend that people are starting out in Tech Fleet, go and observe actual project teams as a shadower, which is an official program that we allow for anybody to come in and go join a meeting and watch the teams work. If you're a shadower for a week, you'll build confidence in what we do at Tech Fleet and what you would do in the industry before you apply. I always encourage people to do that, but it's not a requirement. You should join Slack. All of this stuff is available from the website techfleet.org. And I would definitely recommend that you read through the Tech Fleet user guide, because the user guide has everything in written form on what to do to apply, what programs we support, what do the different types of phases of work look like, what roles can you get into on projects in Web 3, in Web 2. There are actually community written handbooks from apprentices and leads that wrote basically guides on how to be a lead and how to be an apprentice. I'd read those. And this community is all about interaction, engagement. The more active you are in this community in Slack, and we're going to move to Discord one day, the more active you are in this community, the more you're going to get exposed to the work, the more you're going to get confidence in the work, and the more ready you're going to feel by getting onto these teams. We currently have 5 apprenticeships open right now. Collab Tracks and Mutantis are 2 of them, and the others are nonprofit projects and a couple of open source Web 2 projects. And if you go to the user guide from the website, which is on the top right of the website, and you go to the current openings page, you'll be able to see all the things we have open. We're also running what's called community boot camps, which are not projects, but they're more like master classes. If you want to learn how to be a product owner, we have a bootcamp for that. If you want to learn how to practice Agile UX, we have a bootcamp for that. So that page also shows the community bootcamps that you can get into as well. So I would totally start on techfleet.org, go to the overview. It'll give you a little sense, high level, of who we are, what we do as an org, as a community. And then from there, I would jump into the user guide.
Awesome. So there's lots of ways for people to get involved. And by the sounds of it, you don't really have to have any kind of experience as long as you have some drive and some wanting to learn new things and be active in the community, right down to just kind of watching how the flow works, and then actually taking some courses, and then going from there of actually getting involved in one of the projects and helping them develop it. So it sounds like a very easy and simple process. And I do agree, your website is so much better than the placeholder that it was before. It's very well done, very well laid out, very easy to navigate, and pretty. I like all the graphics and everything that you guys have done. I love the whole kind of black and white drawing styles that you've done. Everything is very excellent. And I'm looking forward to the day when you guys do decide to maybe make that jump over to a Discord server or something. Not that Slack isn't a great service. I just feel like in the crypto space, maybe the Discord seems to be more for the community and Slack seems to be more for the team. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we're headed down that path for sure. We're going to have another tool for accessing courses in TechFleet outside of Discord that would connect with Discord, but Discord's where we're headed as a community for the community forum. We're going to decommission Slack one day. Just a matter of time. We do have 5,000 people in Slack, which is crazy. I never would have imagined 5,000 people would be in our community from the time that I started this as a LinkedIn post in 2020, but it's growing like crazy. And it will just continue growing in terms of the momentum, the number of offerings that we have, the number of people coming in and getting to succeed in tech will just keep going.
Yeah, that's quite a large number for a Slack community for sure. But I'm sure once you make the move to Discord, a lot of those people will probably follow over as well. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Now, one of the last projects you mentioned is the one that involves with AI art generation. Now, have you guys decided on, are you going to be using an already pre-existing AI art generation bot to be able to facilitate this project and what you want to do? And if so, do you know which one it's going to be? And maybe just go into a little bit more detail on, like you said, it's kind of like you throw in, let's say I throw in a KD Croc and a Smash Spider together, that it would then take the two different art styles and kind of integrate, and the AI would generate them into one kind of picture. Is that kind of the idea?
That's the idea. It would take the attributes. So your spider is a spider and it has a koala wallet tattoo and it's got brown hair. Those attributes become the prompt. We're going to use a lottery on the blockchain to randomly determine the order of that stuff. But between the two NFTs, your attributes become the prompt for the new image generation. And that's what makes it completely random. So the NFTs that you put in there completely depend on the outcome. And the pictures are going to be used to train the AI. So let's say Mutantis has been live for 6 months and we have 40,000 images that have been burned, 40,000 NFTs that have been burned. The AI is trained to generate images off of those 40,000 images that have been burned. So the attributes plus that training will be used to determine the new image. And we want to give the user the option to, let's say they don't like it. Maybe there's an option to recycle and redo it before they mint on the blockchain. But they'll never know what they get because it depends on the previously burned NFTs and it depends on the two that you pick So like I said, if you pick a special one, if you pick a 1-1, a completely unique NFT, something special happens in Mutantis. We have to design. But it would have to be worth somebody's while to put a Mutant Ape Yacht Club NFT on there. And we'll design that. In terms of the AI itself, I would absolutely love to use proof of useful work on Flux. That's exactly what the future holds for AI in terms of being able to build a new AI mechanism on a decentralized blockchain. I would love to use proof of useful work on that. I am thinking at this point, Stable Diffusion would be the engine that we would use for that. We would have to train in.
Yeah, that is the thing with AI, is that the more things you put into it, the more it learns and the more creative it becomes. I saw a post the other day of Midjourney and people like showing the creation of using the same prompt that someone that has been following Midjourney for pretty much its entire evolution has been putting in every time they come out with a new version, they put in the exact same prompt and it produces, an even more like realistic looking picture with each iteration, because it's learning more from the prompts that people are putting in, just from other things, the information that it's gathered. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of things it'll come up with once you start putting in NFT attributes as prompts, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there even is bots right now that can really handle that kind of thing. Because usually when you think of prompts, it's like, the ones I've been putting in, like purple koala wearing wizard hat and holding miner, things like that. And sometimes it spits out what you're thinking, but a lot of the times it kind of spits out something that really doesn't make sense based on the prompt. And that all just comes down to how you put in the prompt, the words you use, the formatting of the prompt itself. But AI is definitely where things are moving to in the future, and definitely something like we're seeing a lot more NFT collections that are AI art generative collections. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. Now, as you said, that this is going to produce what might be a card game. Have you guys had any planning yet on what the card game would entail and kind of like how it would work? Would it just be kind of like the same kind of thing that you see with, for example, like Wizards and stuff like that, where it's kind of a turn-based, like Brawler Bears for Arcade did, where it's almost like a turn-based and your attacks and things like that are based on the attributes of the NFTs?
Yeah, so there's been no apprenticeships so far for this, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking in my head at this point. I want to deviate from Wizards and Brawler Bears to be a deck builder for an NFT. The Magic the Gathering experience. I love Magic and Arena, especially sitting at the table with my friends and playing Commander. I want to be able to create that experience for this game online, and the excitement of the AI generation creating these new cards, and each card is unique. Maybe there's a way to multiply those cards and like generate passive income. If you generate a card that's really valuable, maybe we let people multiply that card so that others can buy the same card and you make money off of it. But the concept of Magic the Gathering is there's 30,000 cards out there. You pick a deck of 30 or 60 or 100, depending on what game you're playing. And that set of cards has a strategy, and you try to kill your opponent. And it's turn-based. And I think the real fun comes from if you have 5 people playing the game, but it could be a one-on-one game, right? And I could just hop on Magic Arena and play for 15 minutes and then be done with it. That's the kind of experience that I want to build for Mutantis. So maybe there are like elements of Wizards and Brawler Bears, like weapons that you add to your characters, or artifacts, training that like levels up the NFT itself. I think providing that gamification and the incentivization strategy will be really enticing and like a really exciting part of this project. But the concept I want to build is a deck builder type card game.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that Magic itself hasn't turned into more of an online thing. Even if they weren't utilizing NFTs or anything like that, more of like if they were kind of like Epic Games and their and all of their guns and stuff like that they have for all of their games, that kind of system. But NFTs would be a perfect use case for an NFT or for a card type playing game like Magic or even like Pokemon card games. Definitely should be the way things are going. And it's really cool to hear that you guys are already thinking that way as well and starting to build towards that. So I think that kind of covers all the 5 projects that you spoke of earlier. Is there any other kind of alpha or news that you'd like to get out to the community?
Yeah, well, I just want to like reiterate that, like everybody in the world has the power to change their own future through TechFleet. If you're trying to prepare for a career, you don't even know what you want, or you do know what you want, you can not only get ready for your career in TechFleet, but you can really make a lot of really cool things in TechFleet by working with teams. And the people stay in TechFleet because of the community. We as one community are collective together. And it's a really powerful thing, being able to make change for the world through these products that we're making, through the people that we're helping. Just the fact that you don't need any type of experience whatsoever makes us completely unique, because all the other jobs in the world, if you're not going through an internship, require some kind of experience, but you can build that experience in TechFleet, and you have the opportunity to work on Web3 stuff and Web2 stuff, and wherever you want to take your career, you can kind of build up that journey in TechFleet.
Awesome. Well, it's always great catching up with you guys. Like I said, you guys are probably one of the hardest working teams in the Kadena ecosystem, with all of the multiple projects you have and the huge amount of people that you have involved in these projects. So it's always great to catch up and see what you guys are working on, because it always kind of amazes me at the creativity and things that you guys are producing over there at TechFleet. So I want to thank you, Morgan, for coming today and updating the community with what you guys are working on. And hopefully some people listening to this will be enticed to join the TechFleet experience, get involved, and maybe help you bring some of these projects more to life. So thank you for joining us today.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Oh, it's always our pleasure. So make sure everyone follows TechFleet. Go check out their website, techfleet.org. Get involved, help them build some of these amazing projects, and also, help maybe improve your own understanding on blockchain, Web3, all types of different things that you can learn over at TechFleet. So like I said, make sure you guys follow them, get involved, be part of the future. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming and listening today. And make sure to tune in for our next AMA, and have yourselves a great day. Take care.
Everybody have a great weekend.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also ensure to follow us on all our social media, from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter, to ensure to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.